My name's Chris Ball from Askews. The business has been running since 1987 and I recently took over as MD. We are a mechanical services company, so we cover all of the mechanical trades from air conditioning, ventilation, heating, plumbing. We have a bit of a strapline. We can make anything hotter or colder. I first heard of Andy when I was taking over as MD. I quickly realised that I needed some support. Being a family business, I needed to make sure that we could find a way of bringing everybody together, understanding exactly who we are, where we're trying to get to, and how we were going to do that. And I knew straight away that I needed to document that path or that journey, and I couldn't seem to find a way of doing that myself. And I stumbled across Andy's social media by accident and started to read into exactly what it was that he did. We had a quick conversation, which turned into a few more conversations, and very quickly I could see his enthusiasm and his drive, and importantly for me, his experience. He's been in this situation and he's lived what I needed to try and achieve. So when I first started talking to Andy, I knew that I needed help personally, and I started talking to him about his career GPS, which is very similar to the Success GPS program, but it's based on a personal basis of personal aspirations and personal goals. Once we got talking to Andy, it became apparent that we needed to do the Success GPS program and align the whole board of directors. And then once we got to the end of the Success GPS program, which for us was 10, we quickly realized that Andy had created this really quite a special network of other directors, which is called YAB, which is Your Affordable Board. And the one thing that I've learned over the last year is being an MD, it's a very lonely place, and there's very few people to talk to. And the YAB group has been amazing, that you can sit in a room with 30 other directors, similar businesses or maybe completely irrelevant businesses, but you've got business owners all there to look out for each other, to support each other. And 9 times out of 10, if I've got a problem, somebody else in the room's already had a similar problem and have ways of dealing with that, and they're all there to help each other. The Success GPS program, it was a bit daunting at first. I suppose one of the scariest things was actually getting a board of directors together in one room to actually admit some home truths about why do you do this, why do you get it. Once you've established those truths, you then set the end goal of what is it you're trying to achieve, what's the ultimate end goal, and then the rest actually becomes quite transparent and quite straightforward and quite easy, that you've just got to map the route of how you're going to get from A to B. Andy's always had a bit of a strap line that most people just fly around point A. They don't actually know how to get to point B, and that's been the single biggest focus for us, is actually understanding where point B is. For us, finding the focus was setting the destination, setting point B, and actually understanding how to get there. I think we probably put ourselves down that we are a small family business, but we're not a small family business anymore. We employ over 50 people now, and it's having the bravery or the foresight to actually set quite an optimistic destination. And that could be turnover, it could be personal aspirations. We've set a few of all these goals in the master plan. So we have a very ambitious financial target that we're aiming for, and likewise we have some private things that we want to achieve at that same period in time. And a big one for me is around succession planning and understanding who's actually going to be taking over this business when I do get to my destination. Yeah, as far as tangible results, it's been a very difficult period for us. We've gone through, I stepped up and took over as MD in March 2021. You could say it was probably a silly time to do it, that we're in the height of a pandemic, facing Brexit and global supplier shortages. So it's been very, very difficult. But one thing that the plan has given us is a clear focus on step-by-step goals of what we need to have achieved on a monthly basis, in 3 months, in 6 months. And even with it being a very difficult period, we are sticking to the plan, albeit it's maybe a bit clouded, but we've got a documented path. And without that, I don't think we'd be where we are today. A little bit like networking, but without the need to have to sell anything. It's become a group of friends, but because they're all MDs or company owners, they talk to each other on a completely different level. No, nobody's embarrassed. Nobody's, it is like a support group or counselling group. With the YAB group in particular, it's for me personally, it's been absolutely invaluable that you've got this group, this amazing group of 30 people sat in a room with no ulterior motive, no plan, no expectations. When you go through the Success GPS program, one thing that Andy talks about is your dream buyers and your dream customers and dealing with like-minded people. And for me, the YAB group, it's an extension of that, and it's support for me, where you sat in a room with, I suppose, dream dream customers and dream buyers, that they are like-minded people who simply just understand the situations and the predicaments that you're in, and their sole purpose in life is just to help each other. And it's a little bit like a counseling session or a mentoring session, that it's been incredible, really. I think the YAB group's been essential because the whole world, the whole industry everything's becoming social media driven. Everybody wants answers now. Everybody is happy to share their experiences, but nobody ever talks about, the downsides to running a business. Nobody ever talks about some of the problems that you may face. And it is a lonely existence. It's been amazing to deal with like-minded people who just want to help fix problems. And I am a big believer in, appealing to people's good nature. And there's a lot of decent people out there that just want to help each other. And I've never seen anything like this available. When I first met Andy, I was very, very skeptical. You see a lot of these adverts for business coaches and mentors, but if you ever get the opportunity to speak to Andy, it's very, very clear very quickly that his passion and his enthusiasm for wanting to help people and wanting to support people, particularly in a business world, his enthusiasm, it's addictive, and I think that was a massive benefit for doing the Success GPS program for me, having a bit of accountability that, even throughout the 8 to 10 weeks that we did the Success GPS program, Andy's become a friend, and he regularly rings in, just to check to see how you're going. And then that was the natural evolution into YAB, or Your Affordable Board, that we can continue that relationship. The way that Andy coaches, he really isn't a conventional coach. Over the 37 years we've been in business, we've had endless numbers of business coaches. I think Andy, he would say himself that he isn't a business coach. He has the nickname Sherpa Guide. And the whole point of the Success GPS program is to understand where you are, to understand where you want to be, plotting that map, plotting that journey, climbing your mountain, whatever you want to call it, to get to your destination. And there's very, very few people I've ever met that do this with Andy's passion and drive. And the final decision for me was, he's been there, he's lived it, he's got experience of this. And there's very few business coaches who actually can say that they've actually experienced this themselves. And, Andy was part of a very successful business that, started to have a bit of a downturn, and whatever plan he came up with, which is obviously now the Success GPS program, worked. And he, given his nature and given who he is, he just wanted to roll that out and share that and somehow turn that into a business. And I wish him all the best. I've not known Andy Henderson that long. I first met him back in March. It was probably February, actually, just before I took over in March. We've worked very, very closely together for the last year and continue to do so. I would say he's a very close friend. I value his opinion, and it really is nice. And it's almost like a progression of the Success GPS that, even though the paid work is now done and finished throughout the YAB group, you've still got that ongoing support, and he's still got a vested interest in, are we sticking to the plan? Are we still achieving our goals, even though the Success GPS program's finished now? I think for anybody looking to franchise or start a franchise for the YAB group, they obviously need to have had some industry experience. They obviously need to understand what it is they're talking about and what business owners go through and what they face on a daily basis. But I think that the single biggest overriding thing is that enthusiasm and that drive to really want to help people and succeed. Whether that means that's favoured to somebody that's a little bit older, that's had some industry experience or not, I don't know. But I think I'm a big believer in trying to remain as positive as possible at all times. And I think that becomes addictive, that when people are happy and they're sharing good news, that tends to rub off on people. And I think you need a special kind of character of somebody that is a very positive, naturally very positive kind of person, very enthusiastic without being too over enthusiastic.